want to make a new PowSurf because the one I made last year is just a little too big and it's got a little too much flotation. She's a little wide, and I think the traction pads could be farther forward. And I gave it a bit of convex on the bottom. Makes it real slippery, especially when the snow is not that deep. So I'm gonna make one that's 10% smaller, and I am gonna try to make a new press because that's the hardest part about making the PowSurf. I made this press last year with a bunch of scrap wood, and I'm gonna try to do the same because if you know me, I don't like spending money on pretty much anything. So generally you would cut a whole bunch of strips of plywood in the shape of your board like this way, and then you would use the two halves to sandwich together and make a sweet press. But to do that out of plywood, it's honestly going to cost like $120 just for the plywood alone to get enough. And I thought of a way last year to try to save some money. I made this thing, and this is the top half, and it goes onto here, and I clamp it down and I push the board. But the problem is there's a bit of a gap behind this and this, so it didn't get a great press. So I do have a little bit of extra wood this time. So what I'm gonna do is just carve the front whole thing out of a bunch of sections, and then I just won't run it the whole, and then we'll carve a little bit for the bottom. So it'll just be a couple triangles up here and a couple triangles on the back, and then I believe I have a whole piece to press down at the top. So it's going to be a little bit different design than this because this was pretty ghetto, and hopefully that works. So we'll see. Okay, so we did come out to the garage for a quick second because I figured it'd be easier just to make a mess in the garage real quick with the skill saw. So we're here just gonna cut some strips of this plywood I got. I made this little jig because I don't have a table saw. So basically I'm just gonna slide my piece in there, 5 inches, then I can just run this down the thing here and get a couple strips. I do have some random scrap pieces of plywood kicking around, so yeah, and obviously there's not a lot of room in this goddamn garage right now, so yeah, that's why I am not working in here. Plus it's -30 out, my hands are getting a little cold, so wish me luck. Okay, that furnace is really loud. Okay, so I gotta make basically a template that I'm gonna use every time. I'm going to use one of these wooden rulers. I'm just gonna tack it down with some screws, and then we'll bend it, trace it. One thing I gotta say is, yeah, I have Ryobi tools. Some of the stuff is pretty okay, like skill saw, spins, it's fine. All it needs to do is spin a blade, it's got lots of power. Drills and stuff have been fine. But this thing is absolutely terrible. Basically you gotta crab walk it to make it cut straight. And I would never buy one of those ever. But we'll try to cut all 17 of these boards relatively the same and make it work. Man, if I said I wasn't learning stuff, I'd be lying. the board that I used last time, and I put some 2x4s underneath to strengthen it, was like super warped, which would explain why this board is super warped. If you look down it, pretty crooked. I took one of the 2x4s and I put it crossways, like diagonally across this, which just kind of flattened this board out. But now I'm like crap, like double crap. Everything I do is not straight because I'm kind of trying to do it the cheap way, and obviously it's not the right way. I don't know if I just keep going or try to find something that's more true. Like, it's just all messed up. But I don't know, I might just go with this and see how far we can get, because we're here now. Okay, so I got this one in sanded. It's relatively smooth. My plan is I'm actually going to put some cardboard down on the bottom and the top in the press to try to like fill the imperfections. I'm doing this pretty crappily, to be honest. This isn't going to be any sort of production model. Just because of how not good this is all going and how bad the scrap is and stuff, and how warped everything is, I'm not going to spend the time in making this look perfect, because I bet you next year I'm going to build a real one instead of doing it like this. And I wish I would have just bought a real one the first time, so I didn't have to do it 3 times. But hey, we're here now. Little side quest. My battery charger cable cracked in the cold, I think. And it was sparking when I plugged it in, so I'm just going to fix this quick and then get back to the thing. Okay, so I've been screwing around a lot with this. I think I got the top piece and the back done. Figured something out with just the wood I have. So what I've done is I had these like tapered strips of the old one here. And the reason why they're spaced right here is because this one is spaced. And I'm gonna try to like get a W shape in the back of the board. So I know that's a little complicated, and I probably should just do something easy, because yeah, that would make sense. But my plan is basically this. It's gonna go on here right after the nose piece of the press, and it'll clamp down, and then hopefully we get a little W shape right in there. It's got a pretty good curve up front. She goes down, and then there'll be one more clamp right here, and then the back kind of has a bit of a W in it. Not as pronounced as I was hoping, but not too picky. This is actually turning out pretty decent. And then you can kind of see this kind of looks like a bit of a shit show under here, but I had a bunch of cross members, because when I'm like pulling on the clamps, it like bows this wood. So I just put some reinforcements in, and then there's a bit of a cross diagonal boards here, because this piece of plywood is actually bent, and this guy is holding them from being so bent. It's actually working quite a bit. So now it's definitely like a lot more flat, because before it was horrendously crooked. I've seen another guy who, up in the nose area, the middle piece in between the two, he's cut a little short and kind of sanded it down and tapered it, so then the nose piece has like less material in it, like I guess less swing weight or whatever too, in theory. But I think it'd be cool to try it on this one. Got a bit of time, so just tracing out the shape. I don't even know if I'm gonna go with the shape yet. hoping that works. Should be good. It's all pressed in. Hopefully it laminates good. I guess the next step is lay this up and press it down and then wait. Okay, well, it's been a couple days. I did have a lot of problems with the press when I stopped filming. I ended up trying to like tighten some of the stuff up more, and then the bolts were stripping and things were cracking, and it was a bit of a nightmare. It took me probably about an hour to get everything secure again, so I'm hoping that this like didn't set up too early and screw things up. But we'll see. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the shape. It's a lot better than last year. It's not as warped as last year. That mold still has a bit of a twist to it, but it's not as obvious on this board. And because I had cross members on the bottom, the edges didn't turn up and get concaved here, so the bottom's a lot more flat this time. Pretty happy with this one. Basically now I'm just gonna draw a center line, mark out how wide I want this thing, get the shape. Got an old piece of cardboard I'm going to use as a template again, and yeah. So basically all I'm doing is drawing a half and then tracing her out, and then we flip it over so we have the exact same mirrored. I guess so the next step is cutting it out. So I'm going to get the jigsaw and the vacuum set up and start ripping through this. Yeah, this is pretty well my favorite part. After I've cut it out, this thing's pretty sick. I'm pretty happy with it. The join, I don't know if you guys can see this, but the joined pretty well, where it's got the taper. I guess I sanded it enough, it looks sick. Everything's laminated together pretty well. There's no holes, as far as I know, so that's key. Okay, I'm gonna sand this thing up. Built this the other night for my belt sander because I don't have proper tools. Just built a little right angle thing that holds the belt sander in. Of course, got my trusty dust extract in here. That's why I'm masking up this time. Okay, so everything's laid out. First I'm just going to draw a little pile of holes and everything, and then get the appropriate size drill bit, double check it in a piece of scrap wood, and then tape the end so I don't go too deep, and start drilling holes for these. .1964 drill bit. It's a 64th smaller than a 1/4 inch, I think. That's what I used last year. This is just a fraction smaller than the pins or the dowels, and it fits nicely, I believe. Okay, so I did get a little lucky and I found my Craig jig drill bit. It's like a pocket hole drill, and it has a stopper that goes with it. So I put the stopper on here. It's a little lopsided, but it works. I tested it. It's tight. It's not going anywhere. Last year I used duct tape and I just wrapped it around a bunch until I couldn't get it. This is a little bit more solid, so. Done. Got all the holes done. Pretty well just gotta sand it now. Paint it, put the pegs in. Can't believe I just did all the holes without screwing any of them up. pretty sure too, so that's a plus. Okay, it's just gonna be the never-ending basement of noises. I got the furnace and the washing machine going now. It's nighttime. I sanded this thing earlier today. Got the holes drilled in. Everything looks good. Remember to put the holes in for the good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna paint this thing or stain it. I think I'm gonna go with like a dark turquoisey color. We'll see how it goes, turns out. And then my plan is to put the dowels in after I get the color coat on, because I would like the dowels to remain like the wood color. So they're like pop, so it's a two-tone thing. So this is definitely another like how not to do this. I have this old paint tray, and I got like stain from when I built my van like 3 years ago. I'm just gonna like kind of put everything together and put the stain into the paint tray, and then I've got a bunch of oil-based paints that I'm gonna mix in there to make the color. That's what I did last year. Except for I didn't use a paint tray and a roller. I like used a little cup and all this crap, and it looked really weird. And I think I put it on with a rag. But we'll see how the roller does. Maybe it'll be better. It's many days later, it's probably like a week since I've been down here. I was painting and finishing the board, and I was definitely putting it on way too thick, so it took a while to dry. I was rolling like stain on, polyurethane stain with a roller, which apparently is not the way to do it. But I put it on real thick, and the board looks pretty sweet. I was just outside sanding it, because I have been sanding it in between coats to make it nice and smooth. And I've got two pretty thick coats of color on here now. It was pretty green before, and then the last one I just did like purely blue. Yeah, it looks sick, especially when it's shiny. So right now I'm going to start cutting all my dowels for the pegs for the traction pads. Okay, so I just clamped the jigsaw down, and it turns out the correct length is if I just butt this against there. So I'll just stick the lock on this thing and run a bunch through. One tip from last year is because I punched a hole through the bottom. Make sure you're hammering into something, because I was hammering into dead space underneath, and I put a pin right through the middle of the board like an idiot. So try not to do that one again. Got all my pins in for the traction pad. I just took a little piece of sandpaper and went around the tops of them to smooth them out a bit. And now just kind of dusted everything off. I'm gonna go find a paintbrush, and we're gonna put the final coat of poly on this. Might do two. Alright, so I'm all done. Got all the stain on. I'm pretty impatient when I'm painting things, so there's quite a bit of like hair and dust in here. And when I was sanding the bottom in between coats, I did take a little bit off the too much, so I went down to the bare wood, but it is what it is. It's not perfect. Looks good from afar though. I'm still pretty happy. Hopefully get out on it this weekend to try it out. Hopefully this one works a little bit better than the other one. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next random thing I make or build, or the next venture I go on, so we'll see you there.
Alright, so we out in Golden, and we're gonna try the PowSurf that we made. And Heather's gonna drive this sled down and shuttle me. So yeah, here she goes. Hey, here she goes. Board test 1. Also, don't know if I can snowboard.